if you've stumbled across this video, this one's going to be about rugby league. I know I've had a whole lot of new subscribers because of my rugby union videos, but I do like rugby league as well, so I make videos about that sport too. If you are only interested in rugby union, you can switch off now, or your other option is, why don't you learn something about a different footy code as well? And we are talking about the best time of the year for the NRL season. We are just going into the top 8. This is the last round before finals. There is a whole lot happening, and it is about as exciting as it gets. So anyway, let's have a quick look at round 26, just because I didn't get a chance to make a video about that. The first game was Cowboys beating the Storm. I wouldn't say comfortably. It was a Storm team that had made a lot of changes, and they are always competitive against anyone, anywhere. And so Cowboys managing just to win that one in a reasonably close one, closer than a lot of people would have expected. The Bulldogs losing to the Seagulls at home. That was a relatively unpredictable result after the Seagulls had lost to the Tigers the week before, and then the Panthers beating the Bunnies. That was predictable there. Eels just scraping home against the Dragons in a massive 84-point game, which was a bit of an upset. Dragons had a lot more to play for, didn't they? Dolphins beating the Broncos comfortably. Another one that wasn't quite expected to go that way. Broncos were the favourites. Sharks losing to the Warriors. Again, Sharks were the favourites in that one. What an awesome game, and a way for Sean Johnson to finish. The last pass to put Dylan Witesniak over the line at the end to come from behind to win at the last play of the game. The Knights beating the Titans comfortably at home, and the Roosters against the Raiders. Wow, the Roosters losing that by 2 points, but all the injuries that happened for the Roosters was staggering. Let's quickly get into round 27. I'm going to give you my tips and picks. The first game is Broncos versus the Storm. Storm are very strong favourites in this one. The line is 15.5. Broncos can't make the top 8 now. They're done. They're 1 win behind 4 teams playing for 1 spot. And I think, let's have a look at that, but I'm pretty sure they all play against each other. So 2 of those teams and out of the 4 teams above the Broncos are going to win. Haas is out. Payne Haas is out after a massive game last week. He really is an absolute beast, that young fella. And then the Storm Guns are all back pretty much, except Papenhuyzen is out. Oh, they could have rested their guns this week and helped my fantasy team out last week. I lost my semi-final in my head-to-head competition. But yeah, I can't see the Broncos upsetting the Storm here. The Storm can't lose the minor premiership, but they will want some form going into the finals. The Broncos going from grand finalists last year to not making the top 8 this year, so they are the big, the worst performing team from last year, although the Warriors probably battled them in that, being the top 4 side last year and now way down the ladder. So yeah, I've got the Storm winning comfortably here, 13 plus, and I think covering the line. They're going to want to find some form going into the finals. Tigers versus Eels. This is the match of the round. Well, I think it will be. I know there's a couple of pretty good games this week, to be fair, but this is a wooden spoon playoff. Both teams are on the same points. Both teams have found some form late in the season, to be fair to them. The Eels are coming off a good win, or pretty good, really good win against the Dragons, who had more to play for, as I said, being in that top 8 at that time, and now dropping out of the top 8. The Dragons losing last week. It's a home game for the Tigers. They're coming off a bye. If the Eels didn't win last week, they would have been last going into this game, but either way it would have been a playoff for the wooden spoon, because the Eels are better on points differential, so if they had won they would have gone in front of the Tigers anyway. But yeah, look, we've been eyeing this game up for a while now. It's been on the cards for a month or so. And it's really not about who will win, it's more about who's going to lose, because it's about the wooden spoon and who finishes last. Aidan Caesar's out for the Tigers. Sean Russell and Kalma Tuolangi return for the Eels, so that does give them a boost. The Tigers have been they won the wooden spoon the last 2 seasons. Is this going to be 3 in a row? It's Benji's first year as coach. They won't want that to happen, so they will be up for this, won't they? The Tigers have won 2 in a row before the bye, but I think the Eels are tracking better, honestly. Since round 22, the Eels have won against the Warriors in New Zealand. They had the narrow loss to the Panthers by 2 points. Panthers had to score, got 3 tries in the last 10 minutes, and then Gutherson missed a penalty right on full time. The Eels were thumped by the Roosters, but they lost narrowly to the Broncos in Brisbane, and then the Eels won against the Dragons last week. So they have been tracking really well. I've got the Eels here at 1-12. I think the team's just slightly better. Aiden Caesar's pretty key out. I think it'll be high scoring, so points over. And then I think the Eels will cover the line. And yeah, I mean, if you're talking about point scoring, the Eels' last 4 matches have been points overs. Rabbitohs versus Roosters. Yeah, Roosters strong favourites here. The line's 12.5. Roosters injuries to Sam Walker, Brandon Smith. And I mean, to be fair, Brandon Smith's replacement with Connor Watson's pretty handy at hooker. But yeah, if we look back when Connor Watson played hooker for Brandon Smith when he was injured previously, that really kind of turned the season for me. I think Sam Walker came back from playing a reserve grade role, came back and hit some form. So I think, so that's not bad. Victor Radley's out also. Joseph Suaalii sort of returns now, so that gives the Roosters a bit of a boost. But Sam Walker out is just massive in terms of the Roosters' finals hopes. They'll make the finals, but their hopes for the winning the competition. Jack Wyden is out for the Rabbitohs, another injury to the Rabbitohs. I mean, they are the team most affected by injuries this year. The Roosters are still strong favourites, but I don't know. But this one has the potential to be a close one. Of course, Cameron Murray's out though. Yeah, look, I don't know. The Roosters will stay in the top 4 no matter what happens. They could go to second if the Panthers lose and the Roosters win. But look, I think the Roosters need to make a statement here after all of their injuries, and I think they do, especially after last week's performance, losing to the Raiders. So I think they bounce back here, and they make a big statement going into the finals. Roosters 13 plus, they cover the line. Connor Watson, Angus Crichton and Teddy, they have massive games in Sam Walker's absence, and I think those 3 in particular step up for this one. Dragons versus Raiders, another close one. The line's 3.5. Both teams are in the top 8 race, but it's not as simple as the winner goes through. The winner would still need the Dolphins and Knights to lose. Well, only one of those two teams will lose because they play each other. So yeah, look, I don't know how it could work. I have done a ladder predictor at the end, so stick around for that. But yeah, look, both the Dolphins and Knights game is after this one. So Dragons or Raiders, they're going to be playing for a top 8 spot, not knowing what's going to happen. But they've got to do it. The Raiders will have to do this one without Elliot Whitehead. He's suspended after his hip drop tackle. Pretty debated, highly debated sort of tackle, and there was a lot going on in the changing rooms afterwards where Trent Robinson, the Roosters coach, didn't let Elliot Whitehead go and apologise, which I think is a bit of an average move if you ask me. Elliot Whitehead putting himself out there and doing the right thing. I don't think it was an intentional tackle. Maybe Elliot Whitehead does it more frequently, however, that wasn't intentional in that moment. Maybe he needs to change his technique a little bit, but yeah, I think that, pretty interesting scenario. But anyway, he's suspended, he's gone. But Jamal Fogarty and Ethan Strange, the 2 halves, returned to form the first choice halves combination that the Raiders have had this year. Lycan King Tongia starting 5/8 for the Dragons. Moses Sully and Jacob Little return. Dragons lost to the Eels and last week, and the Raiders won against the Roosters. I mean, the Raiders are tracking really well, aren't they? They are defending exceptionally well in particular. The Dragons are at home, so that does give them a slight edge there, but there's lots to play for in terms of a potential top 8 spot. And it is pretty hard to split them, let's be fair. It's going to be close no matter what. The Raiders defend well, and they have bet the Panthers and Roosters in their last 2 games, 2 top 4 teams. They are playing very well, and not just at home. Of course, the Panthers game was at home. I've got the Raiders 1-12 here. I just think they've got just that little bit stronger edge. The Dragons didn't look great until the last sort of 10 minutes of the game last week against the Eels. So I think I've got the Raiders 1-12, and I think it's going to be even closer than 12 points. But yeah, I think that the Raiders cover the line, and I think it'll be points under. That's my tip. Raiders, I think they've had most of their games, or certainly in the last few weeks, their points have been under. Bulldogs versus Cowboys, another close one. Tipping just doesn't get any easier this week, that is for real. Bulldogs will want a better performance in front of their home fans after last week losing to the Seagulls. Both teams locked in the top 8 and not able to make the top 4. That's pretty much fixed. Stephen Crichton is back from suspension. They missed him last week, that is for sure. Bronson Cherry's out, so Stephen Crichton just swaps for him, and Matt Burden is out, which is a massive deal as well. Let's be fair. Not much changes for the Cowboys here. Thomas McAley, he returns on the bench. Other than that, I don't think the 17's changed. Bulldogs have won 10 of their last 11 at home. Their home record this year has been brilliant, and I think that's the difference here. I know Matt Burton's out, but I just think you have to go one way or the other, and it is a bit of a toss of the coin. So I think Canterbury at home with their record this year is enough to get them there, but it's going to be close. Bulldogs 1-12. I think they cover the line, which is only 1.5, and I think it'll be points under. Last 4 matches, I think Bulldogs versus Cowboys has been under. Points under. Panthers versus Titans. Panthers, they're locked in the top 4 now. They're not the best run of late, losing to the Storm and Raiders before last week's win against the Rabbitohs. But since looking at the Titans, since their big win against the Broncos, they have lost 4 in a row. The wheels just completely falling off for them. Unfortunately, they were, after they had got themselves in a position to play for the top 8. David Fifita's out, but I don't know if he was really making a difference to that team. He still is, a big gap there that the Titans don't have, because he is a game breaker. But look, I think the Panthers win here. It's really more of a question by how much. I've got them at 13 plus. The line's 18.5, and that's why I say, well, by how much? Look, I think the Panthers' defense is just going to be way too good. I know the Titans' attack can be good, but I think the Panthers' best defensive team in the competition. And I think they score some points in this one, so I think that they do. I think the Panthers cover the line here. I've got them at -8 and 18.5. Seagulls versus Sharks, another close one. I just give up. I don't know. The Seagulls, they had a good win against the Dogs, but they lost to the Tigers before that. The Sharks had the narrow loss against the Warriors on the weekend. As I said, the biggest deal here though is Tommy Turbo. He's out for the Seagulls. He is absolutely key to that team, and they have been playing way better with him back from injury. Hines to halfback for the Sharks, and Ronaldo Mulitalo, Jesse Ramian are back. So they've got the Sharks have their first choice backline for the first time since round 17, which coincidentally they lost to the Bulldogs by 1 point, but anyway, and then the Seagulls at home. But yeah, look, it is still hard to split them here. The Sharks can't get knocked out of the top 4. The Seagulls can't get knocked out of the top 8, so that's locked in. But I think that the loss of Turbo is too big here. And I've got the Sharks 1-12. I think they cover the line. The Sharks cover the line as well. I mean, it's only 1.5, isn't it? It's a Sunday Ava game, so I'm going points over. I think there'll be some points in this one. There were some points for the Sharks last week, and the Seagulls, they did too, 30-odd points against the second best defensive team in the competition, although they're without Turbo this week. I still think it's points overs. Knights versus Dolphins. Is this the last game of the round? Pretty much the best for last. Like, I think that wooden spoon game is going to be a good one, but again, very difficult to tip them here. We'll have to wait, and we have to wait to the last game before we know who's going to be in that top 8. And in terms of how the season's worked out for this round, you couldn't have planned it better if you tried. So really the question is, what happens in this one? The Dolphins were awesome last week. They made the Broncos look very average. Trey Fuller at fullback, I think, was a really key move. Wayne Bennett making a lot of changes last week to try and spark something and get something going again after the Dolphins had been lackluster in the last month or so. Tabuai Fido found his spark again. Felice Kaufusi, he's good to go. I think he's very lucky to not be suspended. And the Dolphins should be stronger this week with Jesse Bromwich and Cody Nikorima back from concussion protocols. Tyson Frizzell for the Knights is back, and the Knights have kept their same halves combo of Jack Cogger and Phoenix Crossland as they have for the last month or whatever, and definitely have been playing the best they have all year. Kalon Ponga is one of the best players over the last month, so it's a Sunday afternoon game, which only helps that. Still don't know, but after all of that, I still don't know. But way back, I tipped the Dolphins to make the top 8, so I'm going to stick with that. I made a video quite a while ago about ladder predictor, and I tipped the Dolphins to win. I didn't pick them to take this pathway to get into the top 8, but I think I'm going to stick with the Dolphins making the top 8. They've been a solid top 8 side all year. So I'll go Dolphins 1 to 12. I think it's going to be close. The line's only 2.5. I think the Dolphins are a try ahead. It's a Sunday Arvo game with the attacking options both teams have. I see this points over easy. I think the points line is about 50. Each of the Dolphins' last 5 interstate matches as underdogs have gone over that total points. A lot of away wins here in my tips, let's be fair. Only the Dogs and Panthers I've got tipped to win in terms of home teams. So really, you could do probably a whole lot better than anything I've just said if you just toss a coin. But let's take a look at the predicted ladder after those results. So the Storm, of course, finished number 1. Panthers will go number 2 because they will beat the Titans, I think, pretty comfortably. Roosters 3, Sharks 4, Bulldogs 5, Cowboys 6, Sea Eagles 7, and I think, between 2 to 7, there might be some changes, but that's pretty much locked in, isn't it? 1 to 7. Dolphins, I think, get up over the Knights to claim their 8th spot. You've got the Raiders just missing out at 9th because of points differential. And then you've got Knights 10th, Dragons 11th, Broncos 12th. Warriors do get the bye, but they're 13th. Titans lose to the Panthers, they finish 14th. Eels jump above the Rabbitohs because the Eels win, Rabbitohs lose, and Eels will probably, it comes down to point differential, and that's going to be super close. Tigers winning the wooden spoon 3 years in a row. That's what I think's going to happen. It's going to be an awesome round. You couldn't have picked it or set it up any better than what we have in front of us. Do enjoy it. If you've watched till now, thank you so much. Let me know what you think's going to happen, and I'll make a review video after this weekend. Enjoy. Thanks.